guys, it's Rachel here with Senza Tempo Cane Corso. So I'm doing a video today on the three biggest myths in the breeding community. I decided to do this topic because I kept getting questions about Cashmere and my breeding practices, how many times I'm going to breed her, you know, people asking what is the ethical way to breed, and so I just figured, you know what, I'll just do a video. So the first one that the first biggest myth that I would say is that anyone who doesn't skip heats on a female is a bad breeder and is a backyard breeder. The common myth is that you should give a female a rest between heats. So you should breed her and then not breed her the next time, give her a break, and then breed her again. Unfortunately, that's not what the science says. So let's take a look at the science. So the first thing I want to do is I want to introduce you to a condition called canine Pyometra, which is a, well, here's the definition right here, is a common reproductive disorder of intact diestral females which affects nearly 1/4 of all female dogs before they reach 10 years of age. Despite modern treatment, the mortality rate due to Pyometra is about 4%. So it means that about 4%, no matter what, will pass away. Age, Pyometra occurs at any age after the first estrus, which is the first cycle. Typically a condition of the middle-aged to older female. Reported mean age, so that's the average of 7.25 years, and as young as 4 months of age to as old as 16 years of age. And then it says spontaneous disease occurs most frequently in females 6 years of age. It also affects younger animals with a mean age of approximately 2 years of age. So while there are people that say, well, you know, you should wait until the female's 2 years of age. Well, obviously that's not what the science says. So that is, and I'm going to provide links for all of this, but this is the first article that we went through. And it's literally just information on Pyometra. Pardon me, I'm all up in the light. Next we're going, not this one, right? Yes, okay, so, right, so this article is in reference to the African hunting dog. And this is about, I think that anytime you're looking for information, you should also try to find places where that information is also seen in other areas that maybe are not exactly what you're dealing with, but very close. So this is not a domestic dog, but it is a canine, right? It is an animal that shares the same reproductive system. So in a lot of fields, like especially the veterinary sciences, they tend to be polarized by people that allow their emotions to get in the way of their ability to look at animals scientifically. So sometimes you have to kind of look outside of this. However, I will say that even the veterinary sciences do agree on this at this point. So the abstract of the article is that Pyometra and cystic endometrial hyperplasia are common in domestic canines, so it does confirm what we're talking about, and are also suspected to develop as a consequence of elevated progesterone levels. Reports of uterine pathology in exotic canine are limited, with some speculating an association with contraception. Okay, contraception. So they're basically stating that these are diseases that are associated with contraception. Well, what is contraception, right? A lot of us think, you know, contraception is birth control, right? Well, the definition of contraception is the deliberate prevention of conception or impregnation by any of various drugs, techniques, or devices, i.e. birth control. But technique, meaning that, you know, abstaining from being allowed to procreate, is a form of contraception. So Here's this article here. And now that we know what contraception is, we know that what they're saying is that basically not allowing the animal to do as nature would have it do, as in procreating, is causing problems. So we have another article here, factors associated with uterine endometrial hyperplasia and pyometra in wild canines and implications for fertility. So this is in reference to an endangered species, the red wolf, and they are trying to keep them from going extinct. So they have these captive breeding programs of these animals, and what they have done is what most people do, so they put them on contraception because they don't want them just to be breeding all the time and having puppies and, you know, getting to be a population that's unsustainable for them. And what they're finding is that it actually isn't working out. So it shows here, it says, our records showed that the prevalence of both pyometra and endometrial hyperplasia was associated not only with treatment with the two most common contraceptives, which were chemicals, but also with the number of years barren, i.e. not producing a litter and not contracepted. It says rates of pyometra were especially high in African painted dogs and red wolves, but lowest in swift and phoenix foxes. The number of years producing a litter, next page, let me see here. All right, so the number of years producing a litter had a low association, suggesting it could be protective against uterine pathology. These results concerning the relationship between reproductive management, keep that in your mind, reproductive management means you are managing when that animal is reproducing, and uterine health have important implications for AZA management programs, since the unsustainability of many captive populations may be due, at least in part, to infertility. Managing a female's reproductive lifespan to optimize or maintain fertility will require reconsideration of how breeding recommendations are formulated. So basically what they're saying is that they need to reevaluate their breeding practices now that they know that what they're doing isn't working, right? It's actually endangering an already endangered population. This is what the science says. So now I have another article, which I did not know about this. This is another aspect. I was looking into this information and I found this. So it's an article called Revisiting Back-to-Back Breeding by Dr. Kate Schoeffel. Probably pronounced that wrong. So it talks about how it says that skipping cycles in breeding has been linked to mammillary cancer. Pregnancy protects against life-threatening uterine diseases. The most common uterine diseases is cystic endometrial hyperplasia. It is linked to several serious uterine diseases, including the potentially life-threatening disease pyometra, which affects nearly 1/4 of dogs under 10 years of age. So, according to canine reproductive specialist Dr. S. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. That's the wording they use, sorry. Females whelping regularly throughout their reproductive life almost never develop pyometra, while those who whelp rarely or never in their lives have a greater chance of developing the condition. Furthermore, a standard textbook of veterinary internal medicine notes that uterine diseases are less common in kennels where females are bred and conceive regularly, indicating that pregnancy has a protective effect on the lining of the uterus. So, there is no such thing as overbreeding a female. There is only allowing nature to do its thing. The minute that you allow human arrogance to step in between the way that nature has dictated an organism exists on the planet, you will begin to see problems. And this is a classic example of that. I don't know why breeders started to assume that you needed to wait until a dog is 2-3 years old. or that you needed to skip heats. I don't know why that is. I'm guessing it had to do with the fact that they were like thinking to themselves, well, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to, you know, consecutively have children, right? So that's the only thing that I can think of as to why, but it is patently false and quite harmful if you listen to that advice. It's no different than the myth that if you raise the food bowl of a dog that is prone to bloat, that it will lower the odds that your animal will have bloat. That was scientifically tested and proven to actually be the opposite. When you raise the food bowl, you're increasing the chances that you're going to give your dog bloat. And it was an internet rumor that went around. And the thing is that these internet rumors can be harmful, right? It could cause bloat. I'm sure that there are dogs that it did. Obviously, if the scientific evidence supports that, then there has to be some evidence for that. So it is very important that when you are out there on the internet and you're out there on your groups and you're out there talking to people, that you not just take anyone's word for it. It is essential that you do your research and don't just go along with what feels good, you know, to hear. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, you know, giving her a break. Wow, that sounds great, doesn't it? It's like, who wouldn't want a break, you know? Unfortunately, dogs are not humans and their systems are not set up the same way, and you can't give a female dog a break. You just can't. You can spay her, and that's the break, but you cannot give a breeding female a break until she's done. So yeah. Also, and in reference, and this ties in with the second myth, which is that you should wait, that breeding females too young is a problem, right? I breed on the second heat. That is what most people have been doing for a long time that I know. Like the huge breeders that I work with overseas, they do the same thing. However, there's been a recent surge of people that are like, no, you should wait. You should wait until they're 2 years old. I've had people tell me I should wait till the dog is 3 years old. That is very dangerous. Because your dog is just constantly going through these heats. The uterus is just taking a beating. And all because the breeder wants to be able to say, look how awesome I am. Look how much better I am than you. I waited until my dog was 3 years of age. And it's just, it's untrue. There's no scientific evidence to support that. The scientific evidence is that you are risking disease by skipping heats. You're risking cancer, and you're risking really up to 7 to 8 different diseases of the uterus that can come from not being bred. So, myth number 1, overbreeding a female is a sign of a bad breeder. You should give them a break. Not true. Myth number 2, you should wait until a female is 2 years of age or older to breed, otherwise you're breeding a puppy. Not true. Now, why is it that we don't breed on the first heat? Well, that's typically because when a dog goes into their first heat, they're still quite young, and mentally, probably physically they could do it, but mentally they're not quite there yet. And so most breeders will say, okay, well, it's worth the risk. You know, it's very early on. You know, very few females ever have a problem at that age. So we say better to just go ahead and wait that one time, take that risk so that the female is mentally mature enough to be able to handle the pups. So that's the second myth. So the third myth is that if you're a good breeder, then you should only breed dogs that have show titles. Now, I can give you factual evidence that this is untrue. Everybody loves Preacher, right? Preacher is an AKC show champion. He did so with very limited showing, meaning that it did not take him very long to get his title. A lot of people, you can title almost anything if you got the time and the money. You just keep going to shows and you can get your title. You know what I mean? You only need to beat who's there at the show. So if there's a bunch of subpar dogs there and your dog is the best dog of the subpar dogs, then you're gonna get that award that day. It doesn't mean that your dog would have beat a dog that actually was better or closer to the standard, but it means that your dog beat the competition at that time. So titling dogs is deceptive because on some ends, yeah, it does matter. It's like, okay, yeah, you put in the effort and you got that title, and it's, you know, your dog is a good example of the breed. But then when you get into that field and you look closer, then you realize that's not always the case. If a dog wins a championship and becomes a champion with limited showing, meaning that it did not need to go to a lot of shows, that is a better indication that that dog is actually of higher quality. So we know that Preacher did that, right? He championed very quickly with limited showing. Now, did Preacher's parents, or were they titled? No. Were his grandparents titled? No. I don't even think his great-grandparents were titled, okay? So that should tell you right there that you don't need titled dogs to create show quality dogs, right? If you can identify quality dogs like I could, which is why here in Texas, I found a breeder in North Carolina. There's plenty of breeders around here, even closer. There's show breeders in Louisiana that I did not go to because I had a very specific dog in mind, and I went and I got that dog. I got Preacher based off of his sister Belina that I saw on the breeder's website, and I originally wanted a puppy from her because I loved her so much. But then I found out her parents were being bred, and I went ahead and just thought, well, I'll try to get a version of her. So, and I got Preacher, which I'm very happy about, and I do think that I got what I wanted with that. So, sorry, the pups are over there messing around. They always like to do that when I'm on video. So anyway, so for anyone to say, well, you should only breed titled stock, you know, show quality dogs. Well, guess what? There's plenty of people out there that have show quality dogs that don't like the show community because of how toxic it is. There's so much gossip. There's very few areas in life where you will experience the type of pettiness and immaturity that you see in high school and middle school, but in the show and the breeding community is definitely one of those places. So you're going to get that. You're going to get people that they're constantly looking for a reason to put other people down. And so saying to somebody, well, they don't title all their dogs. You know, if I could understand if the person has no titled dogs, and even then, I'm still not going to judge them because, like I said, I bought Preacher from somebody like that, and I could tell that they were a good breeder. They had good dogs, they had good morals, but they just didn't want to participate in that community. And I can't fault somebody because they don't want to participate in a community that is oftentimes very vile and aggressive to anyone who enters it that doesn't kind of follow the group thing. So for me, it's about the dogs for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go where the quality dogs are. And I got Preacher. And guess what? Not only did he champion quickly, but he also had hips that placed him in the top 5% of the breed. Meaning he has amazing hips. He has excellent hips. So, and his parents were not health tested. You know, they're kind of an old-fashioned type breeder to me. I would not consider them to be a backyard breeder, even though on paper it may look like that. I think that there is an art to knowing, like if you know how to identify good dogs, then I will fault you less than if you're just some random guy out there who's breeding big to big and you don't even care and you're just breeding whatever to whatever and you're not health testing, you're not nothing. That's totally different than somebody that has well-known, trusted lines and they're breeding high-quality dogs that obviously Preacher had amazing hips, right? So, I mean, he was an excellent dog. And so if you can identify good dogs, good stock, then you can kind of get away with that kind of stuff. Do I recommend that you buy from somebody who titles their dogs, who health tests their dogs? Absolutely, I do. But like I said, for me personally, Preacher was an easy buy because I could tell that he was a high quality dog, and he did end up meeting that standard. He is a champion dog and he's got great health testing. So, you know, that's why I don't title everything I've got, and I don't necessarily have to buy from dogs that are all titled. So for example, not every dog that you want to breed is necessarily going to be show quality. Like Velocity has really great bloodlines. And there's a lot about her that I really like, but she really wouldn't do too well in the American show ring. She would do well in a European show ring. She is a European bred dog, but the Americans like a different kind of dog. And so, yes, I could title her. I could literally get her out there and I could do this and I could do this, but at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, where is the benefit whenever, I really don't find her, like, when I show my dogs, I really want to bring out my best. I don't want to just title everything I got. I think that cheapens it. I think that you should title what's worth titling. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to title Giovanni. I would have titled Liberty, but that did not work out. But I will title Atari. There's a lot of dogs that I'm going to title. Batista, Batista's going through a weird growth spurt, not quite where he needs to be right now. Same thing with Admiral and Belladonna. It will definitely be shown, but I'm waiting on her AKC paperwork. The breeder hadn't been using AKC, and so they had to backlog some breedings to get to her breeding, and AKC required DNA on her mother, which is normal. It's totally what they do, and it's totally fine. So we're getting that DNA approved, and then she'll have her AKC papers. So I will be active in that community, and I do believe that there is value there, but I am not such a staunch supporter of it that I would say that every dog has to be titled, and if every dog isn't titled, then you're a horrible breeder. I don't believe that. I think that it's pettiness, and it makes no sense, because ultimately this is a breed that was a farm dog. It was in farms in Italy, and there were no show dogs back whenever this breed was made and used. So to say that the breed needs to be titled in a show ring in order to be breed quality does not fit with the history of the dog, right? Or even the creation of the dog. So you can't contribute a factor that was never involved in an animal's need for reproduction when it was never a factor that was ever originally used. So I don't find that to be logical. So I do consider that to be a myth. I don't think that the facts support that. Even in like horse breeding, like with the thoroughbred racehorses, not every horse that's bred, especially females, is a champion racehorse. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they just come from great lines, and it's like not every, like for example, a racehorse that's going to win is probably going to be tall and leaner and have the longer leg, but maybe you need more muscle. You get a female that's built more, and maybe she's not as fast because she is heavier, and maybe she doesn't have the length of leg, but she has the mass to then breed to that stallion that maybe is the tall, lean type, to be able to produce balance in the offspring, right? You can't just keep breeding the same. It's a myth that you can keep breeding the same. You're going to end up lacking. If you keep breeding tall, lean dogs, you're going to get tall, leaner dogs. If you keep breeding dogs with long muzzles, your muzzles are going to get longer and longer, like Blondie. You have to have dogs like Velocity to help bring your muzzle back in check, right? To make it to make it balanced. So all of these dogs have purpose. If you're a good breeder, you know what you're looking for. You know how to complement, how to complementary breedings, and that isn't just about titles. It's not. It's much more than that. So I wanted to close this with the ASPCA position statement. That's their criteria for responsible breeding. Okay, so I've had naysayers call me. I'm sorry, I'm so sweaty. My AC was being worked on today, and it was off. My house was like 90 degrees today. So I've had some people, throw around the term backyard breeder, things like that, and so I wanted to kind of clarify and see, do I meet this standard, right? So the ASPCA position. So the ASPCA advocates the following best practices for the responsible breeder. They screen breeding stock for heritable, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this right now for some reason. Heritable, no. What is it, Savannah?
What?
Heritable, no.
Oh, how do you spell it?
It's Heritable.
Wait, hold on.
It's inherited, heritable, I look so ignorant right now, I swear. Anyway, they screen the breeding stock for diseases that can be inherited from their parents. Okay, heritable. I probably am saying that right. Anyway, removes affected animals from breeding program. Now, do I do that? Who can tell me any dogs that I've removed from my program because they had something wrong with them, right? I rehomed Eclipse was the first one because I didn't like her temperament. The second one, who was the second one?
We just talked before, so?
Yeah, I rehomed Midnight because she had hyperplasia. I rehomed Seneca because I didn't like her temperament. I rehomed, what else? I had an Old English Bulldog that I was going to get into Old English Bulldogs, but I didn't. Anyway, so I have rehomed dogs out of my program. Liberty for her hips. So yeah, so I have definitely rehomed dogs out of my program. I'm sorry, I can't think when I'm hot. Anyway, affected animals are altered, may be placed as pets as long as health issues are disclosed to buyers, adopters. I obviously have told you guys everything wrong with my dogs. Whenever I rehome them, I always make a video about it. I don't alter them because I know the health effects of spaying and neutering, and therefore I choose to let the owners deal with that. If they want to spay and neuter, then they can deal with the possible issues of health issues down the road. Has working knowledge of genetics and generally avoids inbreeding. That would be me. I only have one dog that has line breeding. That would be Velocity, and that's for good reason. They're amazing lines, and I wanted to capitalize on those. Removes aggressive animals from breeding program. Obviously, we already talked about the temperament problems that I've rehomed. Keeps breeding stock healthy and well socialized. Obviously, I do that, right? I take them out, I introduce them to people. You guys have seen that I keep them healthy. So there you go. Never keeps more dogs or cats than they can provide with the highest level of care, including quality food, clean water, proper shelter from heat or cold, exercise and socialization, and professional veterinary care. All of those things are met. Everybody knows that. I take my dogs to the vet often too much.
Including your cats too.
Yep, exactly. Bases breeding frequency on mother's health, age, condition, and recuperative abilities. Obviously, I've made it very clear that my breeding practices are based on how Cashmere's doing. So I always show how well she's bounced back, and I provide evidence as to why I do whatever I do. Does not breed extremely young or old animals. Extremely young, right? What they mean by that is breeding on the first heat, okay? Breeds and rears dogs or cats in their home as they are considered part of the family. That's a big thing that I do that most breeders don't do. Most breeders keep their dogs in kennels. I don't. Ensures neonatals are kept clean, warm, fed, vetted with mother until weaned. Begins socialization of neonatals at 3 weeks of age. I do it way earlier than that. I start socializing my puppies from birth. I'm there from day one. I live stream their birth. You all know that. I screens and counsels potential guardians, discusses positive and negative aspects of animal and breed. I do that. I've even turned people away if I didn't think that it was a good idea. I've had no problem with that. I've even refunded deposits after the fact once I changed my mind and I was like, I got a bad sign from this person, and I just changed my mind. Ensures animals are weaned before placement. Obviously, yes, you guys know that. I get them on kibble. Complies with all applicable laws regarding breeders in their jurisdiction. Absolutely, I live in Texas. We really don't have any, and I have property that has no rules. Never sells puppies to a dealer or pet shop, obviously. Offers guidance and support to new guardians, absolutely. Provides an adoption purchase plan in plain English that spells out the breeder's responsibilities, health guarantees, and return policy, absolutely. I have a 2-year health guarantee. Provides accurate and reliable health, vaccination, and pedigree information, absolutely, we do that. I even live stream my vaccinations. Make sure pet quality animals are sold on limited registration. Dogs only, spay and neuter contract. I don't do the spay and neuter like I've said, but I absolutely do sell my dogs on limited registration. And those of you that want to get mad about that and say, why can't we breed them because we own them? That's why. because it's the responsible thing to do. We'll make sure, we'll take back any animal of their breeding at any time for any reason. Absolutely. Everybody knows that. I will, in a heartbeat, take back a dog and make sure that I train them up and get them where they need to go and find a good home. So, I'll provide a link to that as well. But as you can see, from the people that are the judgiest, I'm doing a good job. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this. Let me move this. Okay, so these are Cashmeres Papers. This shows her birth date. You can see here, right here. And then you can see here, I covered up her registration number. These were midnight sold papers. And you can see here, this is her birth date, April 17th, 2018. And so you can see that Cashmere was bred when she was, I believe, 17 months old. So she's the only female that I've bred so far. So you can see that we're not breeding puppies over here. We're not breeding dogs too young here. So just wanted to, you know, guys know me. I like to have all my receipts ready. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I need to get off here because I'm so hot. But anyway, okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. You know me, put the facts out there and just wanted to kind of address this. I hope my goal was for this video to be the video of videos whenever people, I get new subscribers and they just haven't seen my old videos on this. So I'm going to catalog this one, and when people have questions in the future, I hope that this video serves to answer all those questions as to why we do what we do and why you don't need to be writing, oh, poor Cashmere. Because the people who are skipping heats are the ones you should be saying, oh, poor dog, because they're the ones that don't know what they're doing. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll talk at you later. Bye.